The 47th floor elevator carried Diana Richardson through Manhattan's glittering skyline toward another sleepless night. Through glass walls, the city sprawled below like an illuminated circuit board where dreams were built and shattered in equal measure. Diana's reflection stared back from polished steel doors. Designer suit immaculate, hair swept into a calculated chignon, makeup concealing 18 months of grief disguised as ambition. Her phone buzzed with another text from the nanny. "Girl's asleep. Barely touched dinner." Luna asked when mommy comes home. When did she become a stranger to her own daughters? The elevator opened onto Richardson Industries' executive floor. Empty workstations stretched toward floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. At this hour, only cleaning crews remained, moving through shadows with practiced efficiency. Diana walked past them without acknowledgement, heels clicking lonely rhythms on marble floors. These people existed in her peripheral vision, as she'd apparently become peripheral in Luna and Stella's lives. 20 blocks away, Marcus Sullivan was learning that exhaustion could live in your bones. 3 hours of sleep, construction work from 7 until 2, hands still aching from December's bitter cold. Now an emergency janitorial shift because Jerry called in sick, and Marcus needed every dollar to keep his small family afloat. At 35, he felt ancient. The custodial closet at Richardson Industries smelled of industrial disinfectant and deferred dreams. Marcus pulled on the Navy uniform, wincing as fabric touched calluses that had replaced the surgeon's steady hands he once possessed. 3 years ago, those hands had guided children through life-saving cardiac procedures at Mount Sinai Hospital, had built worlds of silent communication with Sarah, his deaf wife, whose laughter transcended sound itself. Dr. Marcus Sullivan, pediatric cardiac surgeon, had saved hundreds of young lives. Now those same hands pushed mop buckets and emptied trash cans, and Marcus preferred this anonymity. Manual labor for a man trying to forget who he used to be. His phone displayed Ryan's morning artwork, 3 stick figures under a crayon sun. "Daddy at work. Love, Ryan." The 8-year-old had drawn himself holding his father's hand, with a fainter figure labeled "Mommy watching from heaven." Marcus closed his eyes against familiar grief. Sarah would have known how to comfort Ryan when nightmares came, would have helped their son navigate the social withdrawal that settled over him like fog after losing his mother to sudden heart failure. Instead, Ryan spent days with Mrs. Chen, their patient neighbor, while Marcus chased exhaustion like medication, outrunning memories that Sarah's absence had carved into his chest. The Richardson Industries holiday fundraiser transformed the building's atrium into Christmas magic. Crystal chandeliers scattered rainbow light across marble floors. A towering tree dominated the space, its glow reflecting in the glass ceiling above. Children's laughter echoed as families enjoyed game stations, face painting, and a small petting zoo tucked in one corner. Marcus moved through the celebration with his cleaning cart, collecting abandoned cups and napkins. The scene radiated joy and prosperity, emotions he'd lost access to years ago. He maintained careful distance from the crowd. Then he noticed them. 2 small figures sitting against the far wall, knees drawn up, watching the party like spectators at their own exclusion. Identical twins with auburn hair tumbling over red velvet dresses. They remained perfectly still while chaos swirled around them, children rushing past without acknowledgement, adults stepping around them like fixtures. Recognition hit Marcus like cold water. The devices in their ears, hearing aids. These children were deaf, and everyone was pretending they didn't exist. Every instinct screamed retreat. Sign language meant remembering Sarah's dancing hands, her silent laughter, bedtime conversations spelled in gentle gestures. It meant confronting the man he'd been before grief buried that identity alive. But one twin looked directly at him, and Marcus saw something that shattered every defense he'd constructed. Not just loneliness, but resignation to it. These 6-year-old children had already accepted their permanent exclusion from the world. His feet moved before rational thought could intervene. Marcus abandoned his cart and settled on the floor beside the girls, ignoring stares from executives who likely wondered why janitorial staff was engaging guests. Both twins startled, eyes widening that an adult had actually approached them. Marcus's hands felt rusty, forming signs he hadn't used in 3 years, but muscle memory responded. "Hello, my name is Marcus. What are your names?" The twins' expressions transformed from shock to cautious hope. They glanced at each other, confirming this wasn't imagination. Slowly, the left twin signed back with tentative fingers. "I'm Luna. This is Stella. Beautiful names. Why are you sitting here alone?" Stella's hands moved with devastating matter-of-factness. "Nobody talks to us. They never do." The statement hit Marcus physically. These children had normalized their own exclusion. "Well, I'm talking to you now," Marcus signed, feeling something crack open that had been sealed for years. "And I have a crucial question. Do you know why elephants never forget?" Both twins shook their heads, curiosity replacing resignation. It was a ridiculous joke from his teaching days, but Stella's serious expression cracked into the smallest smile. Luna's eyes sparked like someone had flipped a switch. "Because nobody ever tells them anything worth forgetting." "That's silly," Luna signed, but she was grinning. Marcus launched into exaggerated, seated dance moves that would have mortified Ryan. Shoulder shimmies, ridiculous hand waves, a sitting version of the Running Man. The twins stared in shock. Then their faces ignited with silent giggles that became full-body laughter. Across the atrium, Diana Richardson froze mid-sentence, her investor pitch dying unfinished. She'd been laser-focused on closing deals, maintaining James's legacy, controlling everything controllable. But now her daughters were laughing. Really laughing for the first time since the accident that killed their father and damaged their hearing, leaving their voices quiet ever since. Diana watched the janitor sign fluently, his expressions animated and warm. Watched Luna and Stella illuminate like stars, hands flying in conversation, faces radiating pure joy. He was accomplishing what she couldn't, despite expensive tutors and therapy sessions. Shame burned through her chest. The investor said something. Diana didn't register it. She excused herself and approached her daughters, each step feeling like walking toward judgment. When she reached them, Luna and Stella's laughter dimmed. They straightened, joy fading like someone had adjusted lighting. That reaction told Marcus everything about their relationship with their mother. "You speak sign language," Diana stated. "Yes, ma'am. Just keeping them company." "They're my daughters." Diana's voice carried corporate control masking personal failure. "I haven't seen them laugh like that since—" She couldn't finish. Marcus recognized the guilt. He saw identical shame in his mirror during 3 a.m. self-recriminations about failing Ryan. "They're remarkable kids," Marcus said quietly. "Smart, funny. They just needed someone to notice them. I should be able to do that." The words escaped raw and unguarded. Diana studied this man in janitorial uniform who'd achieved in minutes what 18 months of professional intervention hadn't, making her daughters feel seen. "I need to speak with you after the event. Please." Marcus nodded, sensing his carefully constructed anonymity was about to shatter. When the fundraiser ended, Diana found Marcus in the employee break room. She'd discarded her CEO mask, looking like what she was, a mother who'd forgotten how to reach her children. "I'm Diana Richardson. I own this company. Luna and Stella are my daughters." She gathered courage for words never spoken aloud. 18 months ago, my husband was driving them home from a party. Tire blowout on the highway. Her voice trembled. James didn't survive. The girls were in the back seat. The impact severely damaged their hearing. Diana's hands shook. They can still speak, but after the accident, they rarely try. Words hurt. Speaking reminds them of everything they lost. So they mostly sign when they feel safe enough. Marcus felt the familiar weight of shared grief. I understand that weight. My wife died 3 years ago, heart failure at 36, Tuesday afternoon while making lunch for our son. The memory retained its claws. Paramedics in their kitchen, Sarah on the floor, 8-year-old Ryan screaming in a neighbor's arms. She was born deaf. We communicated entirely through sign language. I taught ASL at the community center before. He gestured to his uniform. Before I ran from everything that reminded me of her. Diana leaned forward intently. I want to hire you to teach me sign language, to teach me how to communicate with my daughters the way you did tonight. Marcus's first instinct was refusal, but watching Luna and Stella today, he'd felt connected to something good instead of drowning in loss. Maybe honoring Sarah meant returning to what she'd loved most, building bridges between people. I don't want payment, Marcus said finally, but I'll teach you. 2 hours nightly before my shift. 8 to 10. Relief flooded Diana's features. Thank you. Thank you so much. One condition. Bring Luna and Stella. This isn't just about learning signs. It's about rebuilding your connection with them. Tears spilled down Diana's cheeks for the first time since James's funeral. Yes, we'll be there. The first lesson began in Richardson Industries conference room, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city's relentless ambition. Diana arrived promptly with Luna and Stella, who practically vibrated with excitement seeing Marcus waiting with teaching materials. But as Diana struggled with basic hand positions, mixing up signs and forgetting practice movements, Marcus found himself studying her daughters with different eyes. Professional eyes. Luna's slight leftward head tilt when concentrating. Stella's unconscious hand placement over her chest during emotional moments. These weren't just habits. They were adaptations he'd seen in his cardiac patients. How thoroughly were the girls examined after the accident? Marcus asked during a break. Diana looked surprised by the clinical tone. Extensively, head trauma, hearing damage, psychological evaluation. Why? Marcus hesitated. His medical training was a buried part of his identity. Just wondering about their recovery process. But privately, he made mental notes. Luna's subtle fatigue during sustained activity. Stella's occasional shortness of breath. These could be nothing, or they could be everything. The lessons evolved beyond structured teaching. Diana brought coffee during breaks, and they found themselves discussing single parenting, the impossible balance between grief and responsibility. Children carrying wounds too deep for young hearts. Sometimes I see Sarah and Ryan's expressions, Marcus admitted one evening. Watching their children practice fingerspelling. Same concentration face, same thoughtful head tilt. It used to destroy me. Now it feels like a gift. Luna has James's stubborn streak, Diana nodded. Stella has his infectious laugh when she allows herself joy. I used to avoid triggering those reminders. Now I understand they're precious, not painful. 4 weeks into lessons, Mrs. Chen called with bad news. She'd fallen, needed rest for several days. Marcus couldn't afford missed work, and Ryan couldn't stay alone. Bring him, Diana said when Marcus explained. The girls have been asking about him constantly. That evening, Marcus arrived with Ryan, whose eyes went wide, taking in the gleaming lobby's marble and expensive art. Dad, this place is really fancy, Ryan whispered. Wait until you meet the girls, Marcus replied, heart hammering with uncertainty. Luna and Stella were practicing fingerspelling when they entered. Both twins looked up, eyes huge, seeing the brown-haired boy beside Marcus. This is my son Ryan, Marcus signed. Ryan, meet Luna and Stella. Ryan stood frozen. He'd been withdrawn since Sarah's death, struggling with social connections. Then his hands moved slowly, carefully, forming signs he hadn't used in years. Hello, my name is Ryan. Nice to meet you. Luna and Stella's faces exploded with delight. You know sign language? Luna signed excitedly. My mom taught me. Ryan signed back, eyes glistening. She was deaf, like you. Heavy silence settled, understanding only children who'd lost parents could share. Stella approached Ryan with serious eyes. Our dad died too. Car accident. My mom's heart stopped. I miss her every day. Marcus glanced at Diana, seeing tears streaming down her face as they watched their children connect over shared loss. Then Luna brightened. Want to see our handstands? We've been practicing. I can do handstands too. The heaviness lifted instantly. 3 children moved to open space, attempting handstands, giggling. Luna and Stella silently, Ryan audibly, competing for longest hold. I haven't seen him like this in 3 years, Marcus said quietly. So withdrawn, so sad. I thought maybe that's just who he was now. They haven't had friends since the accident, Diana replied emotionally. Other kids don't know how to communicate with them. They eat alone, play alone. I thought that was just how things would be. 3 months later, during a family dinner at Diana's house, Stella suddenly clutched her chest, face pale with pain. I can't breathe, she gasped. Marcus's medical training took over instantly. He knelt beside Stella, checking her pulse, rapid and irregular, listening to her breathing, shallow, labored, observing her skin color, concerning pallor. Call 911, he told Diana calmly, his hands already examining Stella with practiced efficiency. Tell them possible cardiac episode, 6-year-old female. Diana stared. How do you? I know what I'm doing. Trust me. As paramedics arrived, Marcus provided detailed medical history and observations that had Diana and the EMTs looking at him with new eyes. At Mount Sinai Hospital, Marcus paced the waiting room with Diana, Luna, and Ryan. When the cardiologist emerged, he headed straight for Marcus. Dr. Sullivan, I didn't expect to see you here. Diana's world tilted. Dr. Sullivan? Marcus closed his eyes. The secret he'd buried for 3 years was about to explode. You're a doctor, Diana whispered. Was, Marcus said quietly. Pediatric cardiac surgeon. I worked here for 8 years before. The cardiologist continued. Stella has a congenital heart defect that was likely exacerbated by trauma from the car accident. She'll need surgery, but it's very treatable. Dr. Sullivan, would you like to consult? Diana felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Wait, car accident. When exactly did you work here? Marcus met her eyes with devastating resignation. Until 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Diana repeated slowly. James was brought here after our accident, emergency cardiac surgery. The pieces assembled like a nightmare puzzle. You operated on my husband. Marcus's voice was barely audible. I tried to save him. I failed. The waiting room spun around Diana. You were James's surgeon? The one who couldn't. I lost him on the table. Same night I lost Sarah across town to medical malpractice. 2 spouses died that night, yours and mine. It broke me completely. I couldn't touch another scalpel, couldn't trust the system that failed us both. Diana sank into a chair, the cosmic cruelty of it overwhelming. The man who'd given her back her daughters was the same man who couldn't save their father. That's why you became a janitor, she whispered. I couldn't be responsible for another family's loss. But Stella needs surgery now, and there's something I need to tell you about James's case. Marcus sat beside Diana, his voice heavy with years of carried guilt. James's injuries were survivable. The surgery should have worked, but the hospital had a blood supply shortage that night, and administration delayed ordering more units to save costs. By the time we got adequate blood products, it was too late. Diana's breath caught. You're saying James died because of administrative negligence? I've carried that guilt for 3 years, thinking I failed him, but I've been investigating quietly. Richardson Industries was one of the hospital's major donors. If James had survived, he might have discovered the cost-cutting measures that led to his death. Diana's hands trembled. "You think someone wanted James dead?" "I think someone was willing to let him die to protect themselves. And now Stella needs the same surgery James did at the same hospital." The weight of destiny felt crushing. The man who'd failed to save her husband now held her daughter's life in his hands. "Will you operate on her?" Diana asked. Marcus looked at his hands, hands that had once saved lives, that had taught children to communicate, that had learned to push brooms instead of holding scalpels. "I haven't operated in 3 years. But you could save her." "I could also fail again." Diana took his hands in hers. "James would want you to try. He'd want Stella to have the best surgeon, not the most convenient one." The next morning brought devastating news. The attending cardiac surgeon was in a car accident. The backup surgeon was in emergency surgery with another patient. Stella's condition was deteriorating rapidly. "Dr. Sullivan," the chief of surgery approached Marcus in the hallway. "We need you. Now." Marcus stared at the scrubs being offered to him. 3 years of running from medicine, from responsibility, from the possibility of failing another family. "I can't guarantee success," Marcus said. "Neither can anyone else. But Stella's running out of time, and you're the best pediatric cardiac surgeon this hospital ever had." Diana appeared beside them. "Please, Marcus, save my daughter." Marcus looked at this woman he'd grown to love, at Luna clinging to her mother's hand, at Ryan watching with faith that adults could fix anything. "Prep the OR," Marcus said quietly. In the operating room, Marcus's hands found their old precision. 3 years of grief fell away as muscle memory and training took over. This was who he'd been meant to be. Not hiding behind a mop and bucket, but using his gifts to heal. The surgery took 4 hours. Diana paced the waiting room with Luna and Ryan, Mrs. Chen having arrived to provide support. The entire Richardson Industries executive team gathered, word having spread about their CEO's family crisis. When Marcus finally emerged in scrubs, exhaustion and relief written across his face, Diana searched his expression for answers. "She's stable. The surgery was successful. She'll need recovery time, but her heart is strong now." Diana collapsed into Marcus's arms, years of held breath finally releasing. 3 weeks later, as Stella recovered at home, Diana made an announcement that shocked the business world. Richardson Industries was launching a comprehensive investigation into Mount Sinai Hospital's administrative practices, with a focus on donor influence over medical decisions. "My husband died not from surgical failure, but from institutional negligence," Diana stated at a press conference. "No family should endure what we have because profit was prioritized over patients." The investigation revealed years of corner cutting, delayed treatments, and suppressed medical opinions. The hospital administration was overhauled, and new protocols ensured medical decisions remained free from donor pressure. Marcus returned to medicine part-time, joining Richardson Industries as Director of Medical Oversight while maintaining his role as ASL coordinator. His first act was implementing mandatory medical advocacy training for all healthcare donors. 18 months later, Marcus stood in the hospital chapel where Stella had recovered, waiting for his bride. The setting felt appropriate, a place of healing for a family built from shared trauma and discovered love. Diana appeared in a simple white dress, flanked by Luna and Stella as flower girls, Ryan as ring bearer. All 3 children beamed like they'd personally orchestrated this moment. The ceremony was intimate. The officiant spoke, but Marcus barely heard words. He was focused on Diana, their 3 children standing as witnesses, the impossible family they'd constructed from fragments. When vows came, Diana's hands moved through sign language as she spoke. "Marcus, you taught me that healing requires courage, the courage to sign hello to strangers, to trust again after loss, to believe that broken doesn't mean beyond repair. You gave me back my daughters and gave them the brother they needed. You saved Stella's life and taught us all that second chances aren't just possible, they're miraculous. Marcus's hands trembled as he signed his response. Diana, you taught me that running from gifts God gave me wasn't honoring Sarah's memory, it was wasting it. You and your daughters reminded me that hands are meant for healing, building bridges, creating connection. You gave Ryan his family back. You gave me purpose again. Together, we've learned that love doesn't replace what we've lost. It builds something beautiful alongside those memories. The officiant pronounced them married. As they kissed, 3 children signed, I love you in perfect unison. Ryan, Luna, and Stella, siblings in every way that mattered. 2 years later, Marcus stood again in Richardson Industries' atrium, but now he wore a white coat instead of janitor's uniform. The annual fundraiser continued, but this year focused on medical advocacy and deaf community support. Luna and Stella, now confident 10-year-olds, helped him demonstrate ASL to the crowd. Ryan, approaching 13 and thriving as Big Brother, translated questions from the audience. Diana watched from the side, no longer the desperate mother who'd forgotten how to connect with her children, but a present parent who'd learned to balance success with what truly mattered. As Marcus concluded his presentation about accessible healthcare, he noticed a young father in the corner with a child in leg braces struggling to keep pace with other children. Marcus approached the family, Diana and their children following instinctively. Hello there, Marcus said, kneeling to the boy's level. I'm Marcus. What's your name? The child looked up shyly. David. Well, David, I bet you're pretty strong to walk with those braces. Want to meet some friends of mine who know what it's like to be different? Luna and Stella stepped forward, signing greetings and teaching David basic signs. Ryan offered to show him the accessibility-focused activity stations they designed. As their children walked away, David beaming as he found acceptance instead of exclusion, the father turned to Marcus with grateful tears. Thank you. People don't usually... I know, Marcus said simply, but nobody stays unnoticed on our watch. Diana slipped her hand into Marcus's, watching their children naturally create inclusion wherever they went. In the glass reflection of the atrium windows, she saw 5 figures, a man and woman holding hands, 3 children working together to welcome one lonely boy into their circle, a family built from fragments, stronger in their joining than they'd ever been alone. Sometimes the most important conversations happen without words. Sometimes love speaks loudest through small gestures, patient teaching, and the revolutionary choice to see someone who's been overlooked. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to sign hello to a stranger, you discover that second chances aren't just possible, they're everywhere, waiting for someone courageous enough to reach out and make the first connection. The circle was complete, but the story continued. Every day brought new opportunities to choose connection over isolation, healing over hiding, love over fear. In the quiet language of hands and hearts, Marcus and his family would keep building bridges for anyone needing to cross from loneliness into belonging, because the most powerful conversations begin with simple gestures. And they always start the same way. Hello.